The NBA, where Damian Lillard will take off that Milwaukee Bucks jersey and head back to the Trailblazers to join Portland. Multiple reports have a 3-year deal with Portland and a player option. ESPN adding its $42 million contract to return to the team. There is a no-trade clause, and that player option is for the 27/28 season. All right, let's get more thoughts on this news, and we bring in Avery Johnson. Coach, what do we make of the news that we're learning today between Damian Lillard and his old team?
A little bit surprised because, I thought at this stage of Damian Lillard's career, even though he has to sit out this upcoming season, I thought he would join a team that would potentially be closer to winning the championship. Portland, even with this roster, currently organized, they're not a playoff team. They're not even a play-in team. And I don't see how they're going to become a playoff team or a championship level team within the next 3 years. So I'm somewhat surprised, but at the same time, it's good when you can always go back home. Damian Lillard's kids are based in Portland, so maybe he wants to spend more time with his kids and be available for them. So I think this is probably more about his kids than it is about him chasing a ring.
Which is what he did a couple of years ago. Obviously, he spent so much time getting the Trailblazers close to a title, at least playing in the finals, which didn't really happen, of course. And then he joins Giannis and the Bucks for about 2 years. Coach, how would you describe the Milwaukee timeline for Dame time?
Yeah, it was very unsuccessful, underwhelming. He really was brought in there to help lead Milwaukee back to a championship run with Giannis. He wasn't the same Damian Lillard that played in the Portland Trailblazers uniform, didn't shoot the ball as well, struggled defensively. And again, that's why I'm surprised by this move because, Portland is bringing him back whenever he's healthy and ready to go to play, 38, 40 minutes a game and try to, rewind the clock. I just don't see it happening with him getting back to that type of player that he was when he left the Trailblazers. So that's why I thought he would take some sort of a lesser role on a championship caliber team. And like most people, I'm surprised.
I think of a lot of us are. We hope to learn more information, obviously, as the two sides get back together, learn a little bit more about how this all got together. But we can't help but be a little nostalgic with the news that he's going back, right? There's a lot on social media saying it just feels right for him to come back, and he's hit so many big shots for this team, including the one over Paul George, as people remember. Again, the nickname Dame Time, Coach. I mean, remind us about peak Damian Lillard and what he was as a shot maker in the league.
Oh, yeah, he was incredible. A guy that, pretty much was putting together a Hall of Fame type career in Portland. When you thought about the Portland Trailblazers, it started and ended with Damian Lillard. And, being able to score over anybody and all of those game-winning shots. And, he's the Portland Trailblazers. He's Portland, Oregon. This guy did so much for the community. Did so much on and off the court. So I know this is, at the same time, while some of us may be surprised, this is going to be a boost for the Portland Trailblazers fan because they know at some point, even if it's in the 26-27 season, they're going to get their beloved Damian Lillard back in a Trailblazers uniform, and they want him to retire a Portland Trailblazer because that's what I'm imagining from what I've heard. He has a no-trade clause.
Coach, I got to get you out of here on this. And yes, we heard about the no-trade clause, and I think you're right about that. The Achilles injury, and given he's in his mid-30s here, you're a perfect person to ask about what type of player we expect from Damian Lillard when he actually returns to the court in a season's plus time.
Yes, it's one of the toughest injuries to return from. You rather have a sprained ankle, some sort of a strained hamstring, groin. But when you talk about, a sprained knee, but when you talk about that Achilles, that is a tough injury. But we've gotten some recent evidence. Kevin Durant came back from it, and now you have Jason Tatum dealing with it. Tyrese Halliburton. So doctors have gotten even better and more clever as they perform these surgeries. So I'm sure he had an incredible medical team, and I'm banking that his rehab is going to be unbelievable, and maybe he'll get back on the court sooner rather than later.
That's NBA champ Avery Johnson joining us with the breaking news that it will be Dame's time once again in Rip City. But we'll have to wait a little while. Again, won't be joining this team this year. Vegas certainly thinks not highly of this team. Just 33.5 is the win total for the Port. Gonzalez here, so I guess you can go back home. I know he's a Bay Area guy, but you know what I mean. Pacific Northwest, Portland, and Dame. What do we think?
Yeah, from Dame's perspective, this is great, Tommy. I mean, I was one of the people that was saying, look, he's going to have to rehab anyway. Dame doesn't need the money. I don't know what the rush is. The landscape in the NBA can change pretty dramatically year over year. And I was thinking that, as he's rehabbing this Achilles, he should just wait until next offseason and then pick the best spot for him to go ring hunting. This makes sense, though, because, as you noted, best player in Blazers history, spent his entire career there with the exception of this brief sabbatical that he had in Milwaukee. So he gets to go home again. 3 for 42 is pretty great because between what you're going to get from the Blazers over the next few years and what he's going to get from the Bucks just next year, Tommy, he's going to make $70 million from those two teams. And then over the next 2 years, he's going to make $141 million. And on top of all that, Tommy, this is the part where it starts to make, from Dave's perspective, this is fantastic. Not only does he get a player option in the final season, which is rich enough, but to really sweeten this thing beyond really understanding for me from the Blazers perspective is the no trade clause. Look, if you're Dame, you're ecstatic, but somebody in Portland is going to have to explain to me how you're going to give a guy who's 36 coming off an Achilles a player option and a no trade.
So remind me if you can, and maybe some others that don't pay attention to Trailblazers basketball, because we have seen Dame from time to time with Giannis and the Bucks. What type of team do we see them now post, the trade to Milwaukee, especially over the last season? What type of team have the Trailblazers been on the court?
Yeah, interesting, right? Last year, I was one of the people, again, advocating for them to go full tank mode. They decided, no. We've got some really nice, young, interesting pieces here. Denny Avia, Tumani Kamara, who made all defense. They ended up trading Anthony Simons, but they bring back Drew Holiday in that deal. They've got Scoot Henderson, who's on the rise, and Shaedon Sharpe. They also unplugged DeAndre Ayton from that really complicated center situation, so now they've got more room for Donovan Clingan. And they drafted just now Chinese joker Yang Hansen, who's a really interesting piece. The whole point here is that the Western Conference is loaded, but they do have some really nice, young, interesting pieces on the Trailblazers. I don't know that redounds to them being Western Conference contenders, certainly. I doubt that they'll make the playoffs proper, but a play-in scenario, that's on the table for the Blazers this year. And then a year on, when Dame finally comes back from his Achilles, they'll get a veteran presence back in that locker room. That's a team that could make some disruptions moving forward. Maybe win a series. I doubt 2, but they're a nice, young, up-and-coming team for when Dame returns.
And then lastly here, what concerns, if any, do you have of Damian Lillard as he recovers from injury?
Yeah, the Achilles is a really difficult one, right? An ACL is almost routine these days. You can come back from that pretty quickly. Kyrie Irving is one of those players who's recovering and rehabbing from an ACL right now. And Achilles, as we saw, a rash of them towards the end of the season, whether that's due to playing too many games or going deep into the season. But you had one from Jason Tatum, you had one from Tyrese Halliburton, and of course from Damian Lillard. You don't want to see that happen to.
Chào mừng các bạn đã quay trở lại với kênh YouTube của mình. Bây giờ mình sẽ tiếp tục đi tô màu để gửi tặng đến các bạn. Và đây mình cần chuẩn bị đó là cúp sáp màu. Đây là sản phẩm in sẵn để mình tô màu này. Đây là điện thoại để quay video này. Đây là điện thoại để mình quay video này. Đây là giá nước điện thoại. Bây giờ mời các bạn cùng theo dõi quá trình mình tô màu. Và các bạn xem video của mình thì đừng quên ấn like và đăng ký kênh để ủng hộ mình nhé. Cảm ơn các bạn rất là nhiều.
Xin chào các bạn nhé. Hôm nay mình sẽ tô màu, bây giờ mình sẽ tô màu cho các bạn xem. Ôi.